No, there's probably stuff elsewhere.
On the video.
I got other stuff like that. 92 years old. Hey, I got it.
Go back to Aunt Robbie. She's the one at the top there over there, okay?
No, they don't swap it. So it's got a dual, so it has a dual valve. You got
To its strategic location, the bridge was guarded by soldiers against trespassers and intruders. During World War II, security guards provided by the railroad watched the bridge around the clock. The last time the bridge was guarded in such a manner was during the 1948 presidential campaign of Harry S. Truman. Truman traveled over 30,000 miles across 28 states, giving over 350 speeches from the platform of his private rail car, the Ferdinand Magellan. The famous news photo of Mr. Truman holding up the November 3rd, 1948 Chicago Tribune article, erroneously proclaiming Dewey defeats Truman, was taken from the platform of the Ferdinand Magellan at St. Louis Union Station. Now passing Lake Hauto, that's spelled H-A-U-T-O on our left. Contrast this scene with what we saw moments ago at Greenwood Lake. This 330-acre spring-fed lake was originally built in 1883 as the Hauto Dam. It is now privately owned and used by boaters and fishermen. The Lake Hauto Club, a private lakeside resort community, can be seen on the North Shore. Location is ideally situated right in the middle of our main line between North Reading and Princeton. To provide housing for the employees mining anthracite at the nearby Broom Run mine. The tracks pass directly through this residential neighborhood. Sitting over there on our new bridge is our excursion train that came from the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Regional Railroad Station at Pittston. They are making their turnaround move in preparation for their northbound journey this evening. Next up is Nesquehoning Junction. This, along with Jim Thorpe Junction and River Junction, just north of here, form a Y that allows trains to be completely turned around. Think of this as you would a three-point turnaround in a car. Our Pittston train is demonstrating that right now, but that's also the method we will use to turn our passenger consist around from the southbound run during your stay at Jim Thorpe. You'll also notice on your left the abandoned PQ Tower that controlled train movements at this location until April of 1972. Now this route is used by both of the other trains I mentioned previously. You just saw our excursion train from the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Regional Railroad Station in Pittston. The other train is our Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway train. Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway is the train that you will have the opportunity to ride if you wish. It operates out of the Jim Thorpe Station and into the Lehigh Gorge State Park on a 16-mile, 70-minute round trip. You'll be able to ride the 1 p.m. train into the Lehigh Gorge, but only the 1 p.m. train. If you ride the 3 p.m. train, you will return to Jim Thorpe at 4:10 p.m., only to discover that we've gone bye-bye. Tickets for the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway may be purchased at the booth located at the west end of the station and is used on passenger excursions. Today, of course, the 2102 will use the Y at Nesquehoning, River, and Jim Thorpe junctions to turn before returning to the yard west of the station. And while the 2102 is sitting in the yard, we encourage you to stop by, greet our fantastic steam crew, and take as many photographs as you wish. As we continue through the Jim Thorpe yard, we pass under Pennsylvania Route 903. Jim Thorpe's memorial is located on Route 903 at the end of town. Route 903 heads toward Blakesley, deep in the Poconos. Jim Thorpe is on the southwestern tip of the Pocono region, which includes Carbon, Monroe, Pike, and Wayne counties. Millions of people visit the Poconos each year to participate in outdoor activities, stay at one of the dozens of resorts, or take sightseeing trips. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching the station at Jim Thorpe. If you wish to get action shots of the train and 2102, you'll have multiple opportunities. First, if you are not riding the Y move, be sure that you are positioned on the station platform immediately following the departure of the 1 p.m. Lehigh Gorge train. The train will back down into the station to detrain guests riding the Y move. When the train is clear of passengers, 2102 will shove the passenger consist eastward clear of the station. It will then move to the west platform to be serviced and open for cab tours shortly thereafter. Cab tours will be available until 2:50 p.m. At that time, 2102 will move eastward through the station to rejoin the passenger consist. And following the departure of the 3 o'clock Lehigh Gorge train, 2102 will bring this train back into the station for reboarding. We will begin boarding at approximately 3:15 p.m. and depart Jim Thorpe at 3:45 p.m. sharp. Remember your coach numbers. You will have the same seat for the return trip.
Get ready, Tom. You can move up. Stay next to me if you want to. Tom, got the camera ready? It's rolling, it's moving. Yeah.
East Illinois Junction. Tamaqua Yard. number 1168 is open for business and will be open until we reach Port Clinton. That is located between standard coach number 212 and ground class coach number 562. And that's our snack and souvenir cart. Approximately 5 miles away from Port Clinton Station. Those of you who boarded at Port Clinton, if your location on the train is anywhere other than the first two standard coaches behind the 2102, that's numbers 309 and 308. Fredrickson, Ryan Boucher, Nate Mangle, and Dave Pfeiffer for getting us to and from Jim Thorpe safely. As we leave Port Clinton, they'll be standing on the running right-hand side of the train. Taking over for the stretch run to Reading is our nighttime steam crew, consisting of engineer Chad Fredrickson, assisted by firemen Chuck Truesdell and Sean Fredrickson.
They're saying, I'm not praising it in a negative phrase. They're saying he's afraid of the Chiefs. That's why the Chiefs refuse to change. The Indians, the Americans, no change.